Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties, cause it's cold out there.
It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach?
Not hardly.
Let's go on, boys. You're playing yesterday's tape.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the movie calendar. My name is Lee,
And I'm Terrence.
and this week we are going to be talking about Groundhog Day. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. It's so good to have you here. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're just going to break down the film in our favorite moments and just kind of have a good old chat about it. And then at the end, we're going to place the film onto our movie calendar, where the goal is to fill up all 365 days with amazing pieces of cinema.
Yes. All right. Well, Groundhog Day. I was pretty excited to talk about this film, Lee. I've been watching this for years. Every couple of years, pretty much, I'd just chuck it on. I realised I owned the DVD since about 2003. It has had a lot of play, and it was great to get it back out. I sat and watched it with my wife. My daughter watched it with me. My sister-in-law watched it. It was great. It was a big family kind of moment. It was really nice to watch it with everyone. And I picked up a few things along the way as well. It's very cool. Very heavy film when you think about it a lot.
Yeah,
So,
it's truly like a timeless classic. Like you can literally watch it at any time.
Yeah.
If you like, if you're listening to this on audio version through a podcast app, we have a video version, which is the proper way that we feel that you should be watching this one, and that is on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you're here on YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. There is an audio version as well, found on pretty much every podcasting app that's out there.
I'm just doing something for the people that are watching the video version. People that are
Yeah,
only on the
if I sounded
podcast
a bit
version, you're missing out.
then.
Jump on YouTube, and then you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's not to be missed. That one, it was wonderful.
That was incredible.
There's going to be time codes in the description as well if you feel like jumping around to your favorite moments. We got some really good feedback about the last couple of episodes, so what we've done is taken some of that feedback on board, and so for just the discussion of the film, we've broken it down into a few sections. So they are going to be world building, themes, characters, and humour for this film. So if any of those pique your interest, jump to the time codes in the description and you can listen to us talk about those. So we're going to start with world building.
Cool. World building. Oh, thank you, by the way, for everyone who has been giving us feedback. It's really nice to know that there are people out there. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. Thank you. All right, world building. Yes, back to you, Lee.
Yeah, people like actually watch and listen to this. It's not just us sort of talking in rooms by ourselves and putting it together. It's cool to know. Yeah, we received a really cool letter this week via email, which I can't wait to get to towards the end.
All right, world building. Tell us, what do you mean about world building? You told me this idea of how we'd speak about this. How's this going to work?
Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to talk about world building in this section was because it's just done so well, because it's just set in an everyday small town in somewhere in America, and they create this world in such a brilliant way. It feels so real, and what I mean by that is it's such a fantastical concept of this entire movie, right? A man that is stuck in one place to repeat the same day over and over and over again for an undetermined amount of time, and it's just done in a way that it doesn't feel like it's fake. Like, it feels real, and a testament to the writing and sort of the production design and everything that went behind it, the performances, to make it feel that real. So that's kind of what I mean by world building.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, tell me your thoughts on it. Actually, before you do, I'm sure this isn't the first time that this concept has ever been created in film. I mean, I can't put a name to anything that has, but I'm sure this has been done before. I don't know. It's a pretty wild but huge and relevant concept. Do you know of any other situation where this has been used?
I do. I know a few. Before this film, I'm not too sure, but definitely after it, there have been some successes to it, especially in television. A lot of television episodes of certain shows have done episodes based around Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
There's a couple of horror films as well. I think that you can find on on Netflix. I think Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You, I think, run on a similar concept.
Yes. Yeah, I was thinking Birthday.
But no,
yes, yeah.
As far as pre this film, which it came out in 1993, I have no idea as to what came before. I know it probably takes a lot of inspiration from sort of Greek mythology and a few different kinds of religions, but you'd have to ask the writers about that one to really get into it. Which I'm sure there are answers about that.
Yeah, I know they adapted the screenplay a lot. The writer had a big idea of it being, thousands of years of time had passed, or at least that was the potential for it.
Yeah,
and a really nice thing about this is that it nearly doesn't matter how long has passed.
No,
it's not addressed.
Not at all.
You just got to try and, if you want to work it out, well, you can try and work it out. And we only see a handful of days that actually play out, and then snippets of days. But when you realize that first one where there's this massive time jump where Phil steals all the cash from the armored vehicle, that was the first time where I realized, oh, we have jumped. We have done a massive jump. And every one of those little moments that he speaks out aloud and calculates, you realize that would have taken maybe more than a day to work that one out. It's just, that was where my mind started to have little explosions inside of my head. I was thinking, oh no, this is amazing. This is really, really cool. But yeah, I think it was a conscious decision from why did I have to? Harold Ramis. Yeah, to kind of to bring it back a little bit and realize that we don't have to tell everyone what's going on. This world doesn't need borders. We don't need to explain it. That was a nice thing about it. I think they left a lot up to us to be able to work out ourselves.
Yeah, and to themselves as well. Like you mentioned the writer there. I saw an interview with, I think it's I've got his name written down here. Danny Rubin created the original concept for it, and in this interview he said that not even he knows how long the character was trapped inside this one day over and over again. It was they sort of toyed with the idea of it being thousands of years, but I really love the fact that we just don't know, because it doesn't matter. It was however long it took for him to sort of get to that self-actualization, realization that he needs to be completely selfless. And another cool thing about it is it's never explained as to why it's happening. Like we just go along with it because it's just built so well. It doesn't need or require an explanation. In fact, having one would probably diminish the film. Actually, it would absolutely diminish the film if we figured out that it was happening for a certain reason, whether it be mythological or scientific. It would just it would diminish that entire story.
Well, that's the beauty of it, right? That's where it goes from being mythological or scientific to being psychological or, extremely searching within your soul. Is it metaphorical? Is it actually happening? This went through my mind. I was starting to struggle with my own reality, thinking, how many times have I sat in this chair? Did I sit right this time? If I sat right, I'll wake up tomorrow. I think it really lets us realize our own morality. And, if we look at the main character, if we look at Phil, this is built around him. This world is his world, or at least it's the world that he has manifested in some way or another. And it's about him overcoming his narcissism and living a life of service and realizing it's not about him. And that lesson was learned. If that's what the point of this is, if you learn your lesson and then you move on, well then you get to continue your life.
Yeah, it's interesting. I more saw it as like it's nowhere near his world. I think he's being trapped in this world that is completely against his character. Like they make, and with the world building, like they make such a good point of keeping him trapped both physically and metaphysically, so that he is physically trapped in this small town of Puxatawny by the blizzard. So he cannot escape, he cannot get out. And then he's metaphysically trapped by this just repetition of the same day over and over again, neither of which he has any control over. And it's beautiful world building the way that they were able to just do that in a weirdly natural way. And having the weather be the reason why he's physically trapped there is a really fun thing, because of course he's a weatherman, and one of the first lines he says in the film, completely in line with his narcissistic personality, is, "I control the weather," or "I make the weather."
Yeah.
And it's really nice that that's trapped him in.
Yeah, I like how it opens. I like this film how it opens on his hand against the blue screen in the studio. I thought that was interesting. I'm like, oh, that's right. That's how they do it, or used to do it. I know a lot of television now, they've got massive video walls that they just walk in front of and present the image there. But yeah, blue screen, green screening. It's a really nice way that they show it. You know, we've all seen it. We've all seen how they play with the animations and everything. But it was a nice little peek behind. They play with the weather so much, and I think, you know, the reason he's trapped, because he doesn't have to be trapped. He could have travelled back home and he could have lived that whole day again. It doesn't matter. But if he were to leave Punxsutawney, he would no longer have been within this hatred of his life. This is the least liked thing that he is doing with his life. He says that he's scared that if someone sees him interviewing a groundhog, that he has no future. You know, he almost tells the universe that this is going to be the perfect opportunity to learn a beautiful lesson. So make sure that I stay within this environment.
Yeah, the entire town is the villain to our protagonist.
Yeah.
Even though I think that those roles are actually reversed. I think our lead character is the villain, and the town is the hero, which is ends up what happening at the end of the film anyway.
They're enemies and they become lovers. And not
pretty much.
Not Phil and Rita's character. Phil hates the town, but in the end, he one of the last lines is, "Let's move here." He wants to move there. He's fallen in love with the place. He loves it. He's come to this realization that he's in the place that he wants to be.
Yeah, I bet he came to his senses about half an hour after that and left the town so quickly.
Oh no, it looked so beautiful with that freshly fallen snow on the road and that beautiful song playing in the background. Yep. I would have fallen in love with that. It's
just Stockholm syndrome at that point. He can't leave.
Yeah, maybe. You can't blame him. He spent an eternity there. Nearly an eternity. All right. What else? About world building, about this scene, this scenario that we are thrust into.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I just I wanted to call out that how well it was done, that you never question what's happening. You just accept it and go along for the ride because of how well constructed the world is. So yeah, I'd be really happy to move on to themes now if you want to have a chat about those.
All right. Well, we're kind of talking about themes anyway. It's hard to talk about this film and not mention any kind of idea behind it. So all right. So we've already talked about, lesson learning. Tell me your themes.
Yeah, I mean it's a very very obvious metaphor for just the daily grind of everyday life, waking up and doing the same chores over and over again for the same people, not really doing anything for yourself. And it's a story literally as old as time. For as long as human beings have been telling stories, that's been in there. I'm not sure if you know too much about Greek mythology and the story of Sisyphus. So Sisyphus was cursed by Zeus because he wanted to try and better himself, get more wealth, and just make himself better. And so he was cursed by Zeus to push an immense boulder up a hill. And when he got to the top, the boulder just rolled down, and he had to just repeat this process for eternity.
Reminds me of a very famous animation. And a character called Homer.
A Simpsons episode, there's very much, is it the Stonecutters organization that he joins and they make him do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, heavily based off the Freemasons. Yeah, so it's impossible to watch the film and if you are aware of this story and not see parallels to it, because it very heavily takes, I would say heavily takes from that piece of mythology. And a really interesting thing as well that the director was saying was they weren't really trying to put religious allegories in there. Like it wasn't a thing that they were going for, but you could take purgatory, for example, as one of the religious themes, and and he started receiving letters and talking to people from high up within all kinds of different religious organizations. So Catholicism and Judaism and Buddhism.
I've seen that. Yes,
and they were all saying you've completely encapsulated what we believe in. Yeah. And he's like, oh wow, I think we're really onto something here.
Yeah, I like it.
Which is really cool to not try for that and hit it.
For something to be able to touch so many different religions as well, what does that say? All the religions are about being better, being a good person for whatever outcome, but essentially be a good person, and whatever means you have to get there. That then determines the religion, I guess. But it's nice. There are a lot of remarks to God and a God in the film as well, so it's not like they can say that they didn't think about religion at all. I had to write a couple of the points down, and it's actually one of my favorite scenes is the first mention where Bill Murray's character feels that he is a god, and he goes around the diner and starts explaining everyone's life to Rita and telling her about everything. And I really like that scene, and I like how they play it, and I like the surprise on everyone's face when they realize, oh yeah, I do want to go to Paris, and all those kinds of things. It's a really nice moment where he can share finally without sounding, well, he sounds like a loony, but we're with him and we believe him. We don't think he's just caught in some dream. Okay, it's happened 2 times, you've repeated, maybe he bumped his head. We're with him and he can finally do it, and it gives us a sense of relief as well that we can be there with him, and we're like, yeah, this is so cool, show off your skill, Phil. And he refers, I wrote the line down. Oh, you'd think I know where I wrote it down. Where is it? Where is my note? Man, I'm going to find the note, and then I'm going to tell you once I've found the note. Okay.
What scene are you talking about? I might be able to quote it.
I'm talking about that same scene, and look, I'm going to paraphrase it until I find it.
I'm not a god. I'm not the god. I'm a god.
Yeah, he says that, but at the end of all of the, this is I can't remember the names.
Maybe God doesn't know everything. Maybe he's just been around long enough.
That's it, because Rita says, is this some sort of trick? And he says it's not a trick.
Maybe God uses tricks.
He says maybe God isn't omnipotent. Maybe he's just been around.
He's just been around long enough. He knows everything. Yeah, I thought, oh, that's an interesting take. He also falls, when Rita stays overnight to see if anything happens. She falls asleep next to him and he's reading a book. Now, I never could see what the book is. It always had this weird glare on it. It was like a gold foil embossing on a green cover. Yeah. It was hard to read it, but, she comes to and says, oh, sorry, were you saying something? Or where was I in the book? And he said something like, I think the last thing you heard was, only God can make a tree. I'm like, wow, this is some heavy stuff. This is going to be extremely relevant. I better listen carefully to this bit. So they do touch on it. That's the turning point in the film for him, where he wakes up the next day and completely dedicates that day to others.
Yes.
In fact, when asked by Rita after they do the filming, if he wants to go and get a cup of coffee, he's like, oh, I'd love to, but I'll have to get a rain check because I've got some errands to run, and off he goes, and
catches
to
the
see
boy.
the growth. Yeah, to see the growth of his character in that moment, where she has been, for lack of a better word, she has been the prize for him the entire film that he's been unable to get. Just a product of its time, unfortunately, using that. But yeah, for him to just be like, oh no, thank you very much, I've got some other things that I need to do. That line shows the arc completely. So then the entire day can run as it does for him to finally break out of the cycle.
Yeah. Is it? Do you? Sorry. Do you know what the a lot of people are going to be listening. Go, yeah. I know this. The 7 Deadly Sins.
Yes.
Yeah. Were you going there? I don't know.
Yeah, that's where I was literally about to go. You read my mind.
I will let you continue on my thought process. You can keep. Why don't you tell them about 7 Deadly Sins, Lee? About what I was going to say.
You're very kind. So there are. Everyone knows about the 7 Deadly Sins. I would assume. If you don't, they are pride, lust, gluttony, envy, wrath, sloth,
Is
and
six.
the other one.
And the other
Six.
one, I was going to say that. I was going to say that after doing the first two that I know, and the other ones.
People are going to yell at me. That's okay. I'm all right with that.
I'll jump on the
I'm trying to
Google
think
quick.
of the movie Seven so that I can remember them all. How did all of the people die in that film?
Is greed and gluttony, are they the same? Do they fall under the same banner?
No. So
Envy.
Phil,
Anyway, we'll work it out.
our lead character, pretty much hits on every single deadly sin.
Yeah.
Whereas, his pride is probably the biggest one. He is just so pride within himself. If you hear the clickety-clack of the keyboard, Terrence is probably Googling what the 7 deadly sins are.
I am. I'm a really good touch typer, right?
No, that's
touch
fine.
type like this.
You do that, and I'll keep going with this. So pride, the very beginning of the film where they're about to leave to go to the town, and he's like, "Excuse me, hairdo," to his co-host to his co-anchor. Sorry, excuse me, hairdo. If you'll be, I think you'll find that there's a major network interested in me. Like he's very prideful. Lust and gluttony are the two things that he really grabs a hold of when he realizes that there are no consequences of the day.
Yep.
Really early in the film,
Yep.
gorging himself on cigarettes and pastries and coffee.
I've got to
And
say,
lust, obviously,
watching him eat that slice of cake is the best cake eating scene I've ever had in my life, ever seen in my life, and I try to emulate that wherever I can. Recently, I haven't been
So
doing that.
gross.
I'm not eating too many sweet things at all, but I have been to parties where I've seen big cakes and thought I'm just going to try and Bill Murray this, but I worry about what the kids
If there
would
was
think.
no tomorrow, then why not? You wouldn't even have to floss.
Nice.
so gluttony, sloth. Obviously, like there's days where he just doesn't get out of his pajamas or
wash.
or even out of bed, where he stays
We
at
could
home
only
and just
think.
watches Jeopardy. Yeah. Wrath. He
Sloth.
obviously punches Ned and steals the groundhog and drives the car off the cliff, and then with the two drunk guys as well, driving the car and sort of breaking everything in his path, like just
Yep.
without a care in the world. So yeah, he kind of hits on all of them, and I think with envy, I think he envies Rita in a way, and I think he's scared to be like her because it would mean being more selfless.
Ooh. Yeah.
Did you figure out what the 7th deadly sin was?
I've got them here. Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride.
Oh, I did get them all.
I think you spoke about all of them. I don't know if you were able to list them all. I don't know. How many fingers do you have on one hand?
I don't know.
Maybe you did count them.
Maybe I did 5, but I said 6. Anyway.
I have no idea. You know what? If
It
people
doesn't
aren't
matter.
watching it on YouTube, they're going to miss out what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, true.
I'm just putting.
Oh, you want to see
7 fingers
that?
up. Oh, that's amazing.
That's top content right there.
I think you hit all the sins.
I was trying to find a connection as well, just in themes, to the Kubler-Ross grief cycle,
Okay.
where when people go through the grieving experience, they go through the 5 stages of denial, anger,
Yes.
depression, bargaining, and acceptance.
Yep.
And yeah, rewatching it very recently, I had this in mind, and he does go through the entire cycle as well.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're bringing this up. I always think, he's going through the signs. The first one is always denial, and then I forget what all the other ones are. But I was pretty sure he was going through that process. You're
I
about
did
to
have to
tell us,
Google
aren't you?
Yeah, no, well,
you did?
it's all there in the film.
Yeah.
Obviously the first thing he does when he wakes up the following day is he goes to see a doctor and a psychiatrist. Like
Yes.
he's trying to get out of the town.
Who is a
What if
cameo?
there is no tomorrow? There wasn't one today.
Oh, yeah, I love that. That's a
Yeah.
cameo by the director, Harold Ramis, is the first doctor
The
that he
doctor, the
sees.
neurosurgeon.
Yeah. And he says you've got a misdiagnosis or a misforecast or something. I wrote that down as well. I'm really bad at writing my notes and then saying, I've written this one down. I don't know. Yeah, but it was funny. It was like, because he's miscalculated the weather forecast. And he's like, no, this is a misprediction. I think he says it's a misprediction. I don't know.
I didn't pick
I
up
think
on that
Phil
line.
says something like that. He goes, wait, this is a misprediction. I want another opinion.
Yeah. I want a second opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can't get a CAT scan or anything because he would have to leave town, and
Yep.
he can't because
Yep.
he's trapped. So metaphorical.
Oh, you're looking at notes too. Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah,
that
no,
looks
I've
at
got.
notes.
I've got notes down here in case. Yeah, but like, why is he looking down at his feet? No, I've got notes.
All right, good. Aramis, he goes and sees the psychiatrist. He says, "Yeah, can you come back tomorrow?" He's totally out of his depth. I love it.
The small town psychiatrist.
Yeah, I love Bill Murray's frustration. Oh, by the way, I wanted to open this episode with these words. We're not going to edit it. Just do me a favor. Just watch this and then go back to the beginning. Hi, Lee. Welcome to the movie calendar. Groundhog Day. Let me sum it up in 2 words. Bill Murray. Good, I got that out of my system. I had to say that. This is just a classic film for him. Anyway, okay. Continue.
I love that you hold this film in such high regard, but yet still forgot to do that. That's so good. But then just shoehorned it in. No, it's fine. It's a natural flow is gonna continue from that. I'm absolutely sure. You haven't derailed the podcast whatsoever.
No, it was just gonna be something you were gonna say anyway. So now you can say it.
So I think we should talk about the characters.
All right.
With how few of them there are some very much outstanding ones, and we should talk about Phil. We're going to speak about him the most. The character of Phil Connors, played by the brilliant and wonderful Bill Murray.
Who?
Not the original choice for the role from the director. Mm-hmm. Some people might be aware, but if you are not, Harold Ramis originally wanted Tom Hanks to play Phil Connors, and I don't know why he didn't do it or couldn't do it, whether it was a scheduling conflict or he just didn't want to do it. I don't know the answer. I'm sure people would. You could probably find it out giving it a Google, or if anyone does know, feel free to leave it in the comments below so I can learn myself. That would be really cool.
It's really weird to think that Tom Hanks was thought of in this film, and it's like with nearly every film, that, this person could have picked up this role and this person, and you always think, they wouldn't have done a good job in it. But also considering that Harold Ramis has worked with Bill Murray many times, worked with him and directed him, Ghostbusters and all the Caddyshack stuff and all that, the personality of this character seemed to just fit perfectly with the characters that Bill Murray has been known for. Yeah.
There's a reason why Bill ended up doing it. Like, he was perfect for the role. And Tom Hanks, after seeing the film, approached Harold Ramis and just said, "Thank God you didn't cast me."
Yeah.
And Harold was curious and asked why. And Tom Hanks responded with, "Well, everyone knows me as the good guy in Hollywood. And if I was playing this despicable character, everyone would just be waiting for the moment that I turned into the good guy.
Yeah.
But with Bill, you never really know. You never really know which way he's going to go. He could go either way. He plays it so well. Yeah, if he's going to be just despicable and disgusting and egocentric the entire film, or if he is going to change." And I think that's Bill's magic trick in this film is you never quite know how he's going to go.
And he, of all actors, he would be able to pull that off no problem right through. He could stick that character all the way through, and you'd still fall in love with him by the end. But it was really nice, I think, and there was something really settling and homely about watching him go through this change. And his normal characters are zany and really, what's the word with where you tell a joke but your face doesn't look like it's joking?
Deadpan.
Oh man, I can't believe I didn't think of that. He is so deadpan with everything. So watching him have these scenes towards the end where he's really lovely and really enjoying what he's doing and helping people, I was nearly taken aback, and I was nearly waiting for him to snap back. Nearly. But then I got lost in it, and I started really enjoying it for what the lesson was, and for the lesson that he obviously had learned, and that he is a different person now, and it only took one day to change him.
Yeah, just one day, over and over and over and over and over.
For all everyone knows, it was only a day. It was only a day. Oh, okay. So speaking of characters, I was very interested in the rest of all the characters as well. Not even the ones that were named. Yeah, the not the main characters. So yes, ones that came in, like the the girl who he pretended to go to high school with. I can't remember their names.
Right.
Ned, of course. Thinking about what they brought to it and how they didn't have this character arc that Rita would have had. No, she's one of them as well. She didn't have a character arc, really. That only Phil Connors had. It was really weird. And to be a person viewing, it's nice when you can step back and go, wow, these extras had to walk in the background for every single shot, which extras have to do anyway. But they had to do multiple takes in that same scene where just one thing was different. And I don't know how many times they would have had to shoot all these scenes where there were so many people. But I think I saw something as well where, and it might have been in the same like featurette that you were mentioning before, where Bill wanted to do something for the town. He just bought everyone Danishes. I think knowing that this film had such an impact on this small town, I think brought a lot to it, and they would have loved the film. Anyway, I'm steering away from characters. So we're talking about Bill Murray's character, right? We're talking about Phil Connors.
We were, yeah.
Yeah, we were.
But that's okay.
I'm very derailing today. I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. We're not used to this structure. If it feels a little bit more rigid than it usually does, I can feel it a little bit. We'll try and loosen up just a little bit. We haven't had this kind of structure before, so
we're
I'm not
used
sure
to
if
no
we'll
rules.
continue. Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll continue with this kind of thing. I just wanted to give it a try to see how it went. Because this is a very young podcast still, only episode 3 at the moment. So yeah, we're trying things out. If it doesn't work well, this one, then we just won't do it. That's completely fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, Phil is just, and we've said it before, but he is just such a despicable human. He's just so egocentric and self-absorbed and self-involved. Does not care about literally anyone except for himself. Which is like it's such a necessity for the film because you can't have growth without having flaws. But he's just got all of the flaws of just a really bad guy. So it's really interesting that you are still on his side for the film, and I think they get away with it because of just how charming and funny Bill Murray is. So yeah, I could not see anybody else in this role because I can't see anyone who would toe that line of just really horrible but still somewhat likable.
Yeah, I can't either. I've not ever thought of it. But I'm not good like that anyway. I can't see a film and go, oh, they really should have cast someone else for that. It's almost like this was written for him. So it's really weird to think that he was maybe second choice. I don't know. But, it is good.
It happens a lot. That happens so much.
Oh, yeah. Which is why I find it really hard to try and picture someone else in it. And I know that someone else is always in it, always in the running for it, of course. I love watching audition tapes of the ones that got away or, the ones that couldn't do it because of other what's it called? Other things they had on.
Commitments.
I'm so bad with words on this time now.
That's right. You don't need to be good with words. It's only a podcast.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Well, we're milking that, aren't we?
Sorry.
Okay. Okay. So Phil, I think we're good talking about Phil. Can we move on?
Yeah.
Let's talk about
absolutely.
Rita.
Yeah. Yeah. She unfortunately falls into the category of women who are used as motivation and prizes for men in cinema, and completely understand product of its time. Actually, this film came out a lot later than I originally thought. I thought it came out in the 80s, but it came out in 93. But yeah, unfortunately, the film does have this this one flaw in my eyes. I'm sure a lot of people don't care about it, but for me, it's quite sad that all she's kind of got to do is be a prize for him to win. And testament to the writing, though, they don't allow any of the tricks that Phil tries to pull to work.
Yeah,
like absolutely none. She has no bar of it whatsoever. So I do really like that from a character perspective, that he has to completely change as a human being just to kind of be tolerable in her eyes.
Yeah, they do. And she's such a strong character as well. And she represents everything that Phil doesn't represent.
Yeah, complete opposite.
And therefore is the goal for Phil. I think he realizes there's no way he's going to be able to create a life with this person, initially anyway. But, in that very first scene that he sees her, where she's playing on the blue screen and she's wearing a blue top, so her body disappears and it's just her head and her hands, and she's playing with the effect. So I watched this with my wife, and I said, he says that he always loved her from the moment he saw her. And I said, yeah, but there was nothing showing that he did. He's just saying that now. Is he lying then? And she reminded me. She goes, no. He paused and he stopped and he changed when he realized what she represented to him. And I rewound it. I didn't rewind it. I watched it again afterwards and saw, yeah, he has this like moment of being awestruck, where he has that moment, and she's just so innocent and hi, and just her beautiful self, I think Andie MacDowell plays her so well. She's, to be able to just embody what Rita means every single time that camera points to her is pretty amazing. Her character can't change at all. I think it was amazing watching it, just so soft in everything she does and so caring in everything she does that it's hard to see how these two characters would not get into a fist fight. But I think and I've mentioned this to you a few days ago, the chemistry that the two actors have with each other.
They bounce off each other so well.
Oh, they've got amazing timing, and the movements that they have, the way they orchestrate this dance that they have with each other is amazing. But the scene in the van, the very first scene that they have together, I love where the cameraman driving the truck, Larry, Chris Elliott. I love Chris Elliott. He's in an amazing series now, Schitt's Creek, which is I'm all over that. I love it. He does a brilliant job, and he's in a few other things as well. I'm sure we'll talk. Are we going to talk about Larry?
Oh yes, we're talking about Larry.
All right, I won't talk about him now. But so that scene, and he talks about how he goes and he did the story on the Swallows for 6 years in a row, and then Rita's character is like, I don't know what's so bad about the Groundhog. He comes out and does his little, and she reenacts and talks it all. I love that bit where Phil just totally dismisses her and makes fun of her and teases her with the little, do that again, and pulls the mirror down so he can see her. And she says, people like it. And he goes, yeah, people are morons. People also like blood sausage. And after that, I swear I thought that was all ad-libbed, but you said that was all scripted, right?
Yeah, it was all scripted. It just shows how good they are together and how amazing they are as performers. Yeah, where he points to the glove box and says, "I've got some blood sausages in the glove box," and she just quick as a tack is like, "I like blood sausage." Of course you do.
Yeah, of course you. And the reason I think that is so real is because she talks over the top of him, and it looks like she's interrupting his line, and it does seem really organic. And I think that's where the art is. And I haven't seen many films where it's like that. Two people have a conversation, they talk over the top of each other. You and I talk over the top of each other all the time, but in movies they very rarely are scripted to do that, unless it's a scene where they're having an argument. It's very rare that happens. It's not in real life. You don't wait for the other person to finish necessarily. Well, I don't, not for you anyway. But, I think that was incredible. Anyway, that was about the chemistry of the two of them. Okay, let's keep going. Keep going. You got more things about Rita? I want to hear what you want to say about Rita's
honestly,
character.
not really. I think that I think she's just from what she's given, she's incredible. She's very and I said this about Joy in last week's episode of we talked about Inside Out. She's very ethereal, where she just emanates with this just luminous presence. Yeah. Every time she's on screen, you can't help but watch her. She's captivating, And some people have that, and some people don't. And she's absolutely got it in spades. Can't take my eyes off her performance for a minute. Yeah, I like that she's a really good kind of barrier for Phil, where she's absolutely his equal.
Yeah.
If not more so. I mean, she's literally his boss, being the producer.
Yep.
But yeah, there's nothing that he does with all of his tricks and quips. I'm talking about the tricks when he's trying to be with her for all the wrong reasons. Just all of the tricks that he does to try to just get by in his day-to-day life, using humor to disarm, and like she doesn't have a bar of it, and she can give it as good as she can take it. She's really funny as well in the film, and stands toe-to-toe with everything that Bill Murray does.
She's like his reader is Phil's guiding light. She stays constant and true. I did write something down here as well. She looks at everything positively. She gets taken aback by things like when he laughs at her when she says she likes French. Is it French poetry?
Yeah, she's literally says that she got a major in French poetry, and he's like, oh, what a waste of time. I mean, for anyone else, that would be a huge waste of time, but not for you. Oh, damn it. Start the day again.
So she's, we know she studied French poetry, but in one of the earlier scenes, which I think is the third day that Phil realizes that he's in this experience, and this is the same scene where he is very gluttonous and shoves the cake in his mouth, where she just goes into this poetry, this phrase out of a poem. Now, I did find out what that meant. Did you end up doing anything with that? Did you look into the French poetry side of it? Great, I had to write it down. And I do have the note here on my screen. I'm going to say what she said. I think I'm going to mispronounce a word. So she watches her devouring this cake, and she's talking about, don't you worry about cholesterol, don't you worry about a heart attack, don't you worry about these things. And he says he doesn't worry about anything. So she starts saying, the wretch, consented all in self, living shall forfeit fair renown, and doubly dying shall go down to the vile dust from whence he sprung, unwept, unhonoured, and unsung. And she says it so good as well. So, did you just roll your eyes at me?
No, don't rewind and watch that, and I wouldn't lie. I did not roll my eyes.
Well, in short, this means no matter how famous or wealthy narcissists are, they will always be remembered like that. No matter what they think they will be remembered as, they're always going to be remembered like that.
Or they just won't be remembered at all.
Or they won't be remembered, which is probably their worst fear. And when Phil goes through the phases of killing himself, the last time we see evidence of him doing this, when he throws himself off the building, Rita and Larry, the camera guy, have to ID the body. And the camera goes from Phil and pans up, and Rita's in tears, and Larry's like, yeah. Oh, great guy. Oh, knew him so well. He's such a lovely, lovely human being. That was really talking to that as well, where everything about him is fake, so much to the point where people can see straight through him, and no one has any respect for him. We'll just lie about it just for the sake of saving face, Yeah,
literally.
Yeah. It was kind of a really poignant moment there, and a nice callback to the whole attitude that he has to life. But I thought there's got to be something to the poetry that she says here. So that was a poem by Sir Walter Scott, and it was called Breathes There the Man, an excerpt from The Lay of the Last Minstrel. So I don't know when that was written, but Google it, you'll find it all out, and that was just a little excerpt from the poem. There you go. I'm quite educated.
His comeback to that as well is like, you think I'm acting like this because I'm egocentric, and she literally says, "Of course I do. That's your defining quality," which is absolutely fact at that point. But he can't hear it because ironically, because he's so egocentric. Like he just doesn't hear that. He doesn't see that of himself.
And he's got sponge cake coming out of his ears.
Yeah. Yeah, he thinks he's just everything, and yeah, the life lesson of it doesn't like these simple pleasures and joys that you have in your life that give you instant gratification. Like in the long term, they don't mean anything.
Yeah.
And true connection and true selflessness are the things that make you better and better your community and yeah, that's I hadn't even thought about this before. This is the first time I'm thinking about it, and yeah, it's really powerful.
The idea that Rita is almost like a stream of consciousness that is there just waiting for him to realize, also shows its head later on with her ability to be positive about everything and see things for more than what they are. Phil later on, I think it's very similar to the time, it might even be the same scene that I was mentioning earlier, where he says, I found it, maybe the real God uses tricks, maybe he's not omnipotent, he's just been around so long he knows everything. He says at that point, this is a curse, or I'm cursed, this is happening. And Rita says, maybe it's not a curse, it just depends on how you look at it. So she sees that, if this is a thing, maybe you can do something good with this. And I think it's near that point that he realizes that she's right, and he does try to change. But, I also think it's just his egocentric nature getting bored. He's done everything. What else can I do? I'm just going to chill and read a newspaper and help an old guy.
He literally thinks that he's done everything because he's gone through all of the wicked and horrible things that he can do. It doesn't even occur to him that he can be nice. It's just not even on his radar, and that's what Rita teaches him. That's what she's there for. Is to teach him that lesson, and he learns it. So it's a very, very important role in the film. Did you want to talk about Larry?
All right, let's talk about Larry. Oh no, wait! I want to mention this as well because it was such an important moment. Two important moments. First one, not in order of importance, but I like when he catches the kid who falls out of the tree, and the kid never thanks him, or the kid doesn't thank him, and then as he's running off, he goes, "You never say thank you." I love that because it shows he's been doing that often enough. First of all, to know that he's got to catch the kid.
What do you say?
What do you say? So I like that immediately. I'm like, oh, good, he's been doing this for a long time. But isn't it funny that for all the other times you never hear of a kid falling out of a tree? Like, he was high. And when Phil catches him, the kid is horizontal. If he fell on the ground like that, there would have been news that day. We didn't hear anything about it. So, I just want to put that out there. Okay, and the other one is when he
that would have been a really good what about when for later, Terence.
Let's do it now. What about when we realise that nothing happens to the kid and the town doesn't care about children that fall out of trees and maim themselves because it's the Groundhog
from
thing.
The small town.
Oh, we talk about the Groundhog. That's what's on the news now. We don't want to sully it with little Jimmy who hurt himself because he fell out of a tree. And the other one was the old homeless guy who's freezing in the cold, and he always snubs him. No, I don't have any money for you, old man. And then of course he changes, he helps him, and he tries everything he can many, many, many times to save his life, and he realizes this is fate. It happens. And the nurse says, you know what, sometimes people die. That was a massive realization as well. But he had to learn more than just be good to people. He was already being good to people, but he had to really, really know that you can still be good to people. It doesn't mean that everyone is happy. It doesn't mean that everyone is better and saved. They have a house to go to and they're going to live a long life. He helped this guy be happy. He was totally selfless. He did what he could, and that was all that matters. And he changed someone's life towards the end, So there was a nice realization there. Again, I don't know how many times he had to help. But I think that was
so many.
Really
he would have tried to save. He would have tried to save that old man so many times.
Yeah.
That old homeless man. It was really sad. I think that moment for him is when he truly realizes that. Because we've been talking about all of the God metaphors and how he thinks of himself as a god. Yeah. That's the moment that he realizes that
He's
he
not.
really has no power. He has no control.
Damn it! I'm not a god.
Which then comes back really beautifully at the end, where he is reading that book with Rita in the bed, and the line is only God can make a tree. Because when he's standing over the man's body who's died, as soon as he finishes his CPR, he sits back and takes a breath and just looks straight up at the sky, and he's like,
I tried.
"There's nothing I can do." He realizes that there is absolutely nothing that he can do.
Wow. It was in that moment that I realized I was getting lost in the cinematography, and I was watching that scene, and they do an extreme, or not an extreme close-up, but the camera is really low next to the old guy and looking up to Bill Murray's face as he finishes giving CPR, and he looks. And I noticed, it's freezing cold, and Bill's got steam coming out of his mouth, his condensation's coming out, and you see the condensation from the old guy, and I think you hear an exhale and you see the steam, and then there's no steam anymore.
Right.
And I realized they're using all these little tools as well that you may not pick up on.
So
but
clever.
I thought, ooh, I didn't pick that up on the 100 other times that I've seen this film, but there was so much put into that moment that there were a lot of self-realizations here for Phil's character, and that was definitely one of them. Definitely one.
Yeah. No, huge moment. There's a really nice. I was going to get to Larry. We're going to get to Larry in just a sec, but just whilst you touched on the cinematography, there is a really excellent shot of the clock when it flicks from 5:59 to 6 a.m.
There's a clock in this film? Are you kidding me?
The incredible
Never seen a
close-up
clock.
of it flicking down in slow motion, really, really personifying the weight of time. Because it's that moment. It's the one where he stays in bed and he's just quietly talking to himself.
Yeah.
About he's doing the radio announcement to himself. Stay outside. It's cold out there today. It's cold every day. And that's when he hits the depression cycle.
Poor Phil.
In the arc.
Yes, I was
Not
thinking
poor
about
Phil.
that
You're
too.
a horrible, horrible person, and you deserve everything you got.
Poor Phil.
No.
I'm going to be
not
nice
poor
because
Phil.
I want to wake up tomorrow and it be the next day. Oh, poor Phil. No. Oh, by the way, I used that animation on our Instagram profile. Oh, which we haven't seen, but that's
I saw
all right.
that.
You know what? We'll put them up earlier on. We'll put the ways
No,
to
they'll be at the
communicate.
end. We
We'll
missed
do it at
the
end.
opportunity at the start because we wanted to get straight to it.
Anyway,
We're trying to save time. We are genuinely trying to save time.
I love that scene. All right, let's talk about Larry. Larry, the camera guy. Chris Elliott.
Yes.
Right. Go, talk.
You're the one that wanted to talk about Larry.
Oh, just quickly, just about how he seems like a very non-important character, but he's kind of like a staple that, I don't know, I haven't worked him out. He's almost there for comedic purposes, something to bounce off Phil, he's got a little bit of egotism with him as well, and I almost wonder, is there going to be, or will Larry have his own Groundhog Day as well? I don't know. He's not as selfish.
He kind of needs it.
He nearly does. He thinks he's all that. I love at the end scene when he walks into the party, the Groundhog party. I'm going to steal his dance move. He's wearing that really big dad jumper, dad winter, come in and have a party by the fire, and he does this. I'm going to use that. Walks in, tries to put his arm around, what is it, Tracy? Or I don't know. But look, I think he needs a little bit of help as well. But I like him. He's got really good timing. Also, his one-liners are just one-liners. When Phil drives off drives off into the quarry, and it explodes.
Well, he might be all right. Boom.
Yeah, I know that was.
Oh well, maybe not.
That was a little bit nuts. So they're one-liners, they're throwaway one-liners, they're fine.
Yeah.
But
imagine being cast as the comic relief against Bill Murray.
well, you're not going to try to.
That is not a job that you'd envy, right? Like you couldn't do that.
But look, I think he did all right.
Yeah, I think what Chris does really well, Chris Elliott, in this role, is he plays it subtle, which there's so many big performances in this film. Like I think he knew as an actor that he couldn't out-big Bill Murray. So
Oh.
he kept it subtle and restrained, and his character is all the better for it.
It was the
He's got some
90s.
weird.
Everyone knew who
was
Bill
the
Murray
90s.
was. Everyone knew if you're in a film with Bill Murray, this is going to be huge. Of course he knew.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was massive. So yeah, he did a really good job. And another actor who did a really good job is I don't know the actor's name. I'm sure you know it, but the guy who plays Ned Ryerson.
Stephen Tobolowsky.
Oh, it's a Russian last name.
Yeah, or Polish, I'm not sure. Tobolowsky.
Polish. Right.
I don't
Interesting.
know.
Well, Stephen, we'll stick with Stephen just in case.
Stevie boy. Okay, he likes to be called
Stevie boy.
Steve-O. Stevesy.
He's such a good character. So on the opposite spectrum of Larry, just
very low
so
key.
big. Yeah, so
Yeah.
big, so over the top.
Yeah.
And he is just hilarious. Everything that he does is wonderful. And you were talking about how you were thinking that some of the scenes were off script. There is one off script moment when they meet on the street for the first time. You probably saw it in the bonus features, but for
I know this
the
one.
people listening or watching at home or wherever you are, there is the moment where Phil goes up to Ned and just gives him a hug in the street. Was not scripted. It was just the director went, just give him a hug and make it a little too long. And then Bill Murray improvised all of the rest. So that whole one was completely improvised where Ned Ryerson ends up just, I gotta go, Phil, and just runs away down the street. It was so good.
What a run. I want to learn how to run like that guy. Maybe it's just because he had a really big jacket on, but he runs so awkwardly.
And
I
the
love
suitcase.
it. I think that's got to be one of the most... I don't know. I was going to say one of the most quoted lines. He's got the brilliant line, you better remember me... Better remember me because I sure as heckfire remember you. I've never heard the word heckfire before. I love that.
There's lots of things that come out of his mouth that I think it's the first time that any human being has said it.
Oh, it's very cool. I don't know. I can't place him in other films. Do you know things he's been in? We could jump on IMDb and have a look.
I'm sure he's been in. If we can figure out what his last name is, I'm sure we'd be able to find him. I don't know. I know that he has been in lots of other things before, but
Yeah.
I can't recall what any of them are.
And with Chris Elliott, I really only remember him from Something About Mary and in
Yeah, same.
in
That's
the show
that's
that
what
I
I was
mentioned
thinking
earlier in Schitt's Creek.
about him.
Yeah.
The ex-boyfriend with the hives.
Woogie. Carl Woganowski.
Oh, good pull.
Yeah,
I would
Woogie.
not have got that.
Yeah, I like that. That's where I remember him from. And he does subtle really, really well. And then he does over the top amazingly. He does it really well as well. As well as well. Am I right? Right. See what I did there?
It's good. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Good riffing.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, I love him as a character. He's really cool.
Now, let's talk about some funny bits.
Humour. So
Yeah.
we're at humour.
The whole
There'll
thing.
be a little
Funny.
flash up here with humour.
Bing!
This movie
Not ding, bing.
is hilarious. What are you doing?
You said ding, but I had to say bing because Ned Ryerson...
I got the bing.
Yeah, see, that's what I was doing.
Oh, bing
I don't
again.
know.
As
Bing.
sharp as a tack today.
All right, so some good funnies, good funny bits. Whole
It's
thing's
very
fun.
late.
Yeah, that's all right. Let's go through a couple of these. I'm looking at the notes that I had for things that I wanted to say earlier. I think I've already covered them. Oh, there's my French poetry note. Chemistry.
It's too late. We're not doing it now. I'm not going back.
No, I'm not going back. Oh, okay, here we go. On the second day, Bill walks down and says to the B&B owner, you know, do you ever have deja vu, Mrs. Lancaster? Oh, I don't think so, but I could check with the kitchen. I love it. I love that.
Yeah.
She doesn't know French words. She doesn't know Italian words either. She doesn't know what cappuccino is. Because he asked for that the previous morning.
Espresso.
Espresso or cappuccino or deja vu. Yeah,
He's
okay.
he's so mean. He's so mean
What a-
to her.
what a
at the beginning.
naughty man.
And everyone, I guess.
What a naughty man. Oh, okay, here's a funny thing. Did you know that, like, I couldn't believe the sign of this town, Punxsutawney.
Right.
I think it's a real town. And I think that's hilarious. I googled it.
I thought it was fictional.
Well, I think it's real. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't correct me.
It could.
Not
it
you.
Could be.
Not you. I'm talking to everyone else that might be listening or watching.
Yes, I know.
And then, did you notice what the name of the park is that they go into?
Gobbler's Knob.
Yeah. What? Am I the only one that finds that funny?
Well, no, I guess there's lots of 11-year-olds watching who find it hilarious.
I'm not going to embellish. I watched this with my daughter, and I was giggling. Maybe watch it with children that are a bit older. Don't tell them about why that's funny.
It's a good maturity test. Just walk up to someone and say the word Gobbler's Knob and see how they react.
You can't just use that one out of the blue. You can't just say that.
Sure,
You'll be arrested.
Let us know how it goes.
No. Yeah.
No, I honestly don't know if it's a real or fictional town. I know that the town that they filmed in is called Woodstock.
Mm-hmm.
But it could very well be based on a real place. You can actually see in the background of a lot of the shots, there's like Woodstock General Store and stuff like that. So that's the name of the town that they filmed it in.
That's pretty cool. They're very proud. Any town that has a film based in it, all the that becomes a destination because of it. I'm surprised. Well, maybe they have a tour of the film that was shot there, but I'm pretty sure, I don't know, Google it, jump online and see. I'm pretty sure there is an actual Groundhog Day, and I'm pretty sure it is in Pennsylvania, in Punxsutawney. I don't know. What about is the groundhog's name really Phil? Why was the groundhog called Phil, and why was Phil called Phil? Yeah, why were they both called Phil? What was the connection there?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the director and the writer. They'd probably have a better idea than I would. Well, I think it's just a nice little parallel.
Director has passed away, unfortunately. But I might see if I can ask the writer if he is still around. I won't do that, but hey. I think that's part of the thing anyway.
Harold Ramis was dead. That's really sad. I'd completely forgotten that. I think it's something I knew in my brain. But it had just slipped out. Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah. Don't worry. I had that moment preparing for this episode as well, where I thought, I totally forgot as well. But yeah, I think that's part of the charm of this, that they feel that they don't need to explain anything, and that's why it's got a beautiful wide audience. Surely you have something that you thought was funny. You said it was funny all the way through.
So many things, yeah. There's a reason why it's renowned as being one of the classic comedies, and it's one that is going to be infinitely watchable from when it was made, probably till the end of time. Really, it's such a universal story. There's so much humor that comes out of Phil's just horrible character, and just the way that he treats everyone else. Like when he's trying to score with the first woman that he meets in the diner and gets her name and everything, and you can see him putting it together and then goes there the next day and he's like, Nancy, it's Phil, and you're just like, it's hilarious, but it's disturbing at the same time.
Yeah.
All of the Ned Ryerson stuff gets me every single time. And even at the very end, when it's the last day of the loop of the cycle, and Ned and Rita and Phil meet up in that little hallway, and he goes, this man changed my life. I haven't seen him for 20 years, and he buys this and this and this, and it's the best day of my life. And where are we going? And Rita's like, let's not spoil it.
I love that. Talking about over the top, his reaction, he goes, I get that, ouch. That's very, is that vaudevillian? I don't know. That's very old school humor, the way he played that out.
Very pantomime.
Very pantomime. That whole last scene is just so beautiful. I love that it's a celebration almost of Phil. He makes the party. Everyone's there for him. He's an expert pianist. He's everything. He's everything everyone wants to be. They buy him, all that kind of stuff. But, I like also in that scene where he introduces Debbie and Fred. Yes, I read that. Debbie and Fred, and he convinces Debbie to go ahead with the wedding, and he gives them the envelope. They open an envelope, a little gift WrestleMania. I honestly had no idea. I thought, oh, they're not going to tell us what's inside of the envelope. It's a really sweet WrestleMania. I thought, oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And so the funny bit was not that. The funny bit was when they thank Phil and Rita, and Debbie kisses Phil on the lips. Thank you. And Fred kisses Rita just on the cheek, but a little bit too long. And Debbie just glares at him.
Grabs him, runs away.
I'm out. Damn it! All that hard work, Phil. All that hard work.
Yeah.
I like that moment. That was funny.
We don't need to tell anybody listening to this or watching this that this film is funny. It's
No, not at all.
It's an absolute classic.
Yeah, keep it in your collection. Watch it again. You know what? I spoke a lot about Inside Out being a great one to watch with kids. I think this one is also good to watch with kids when they, if you feel they're of age to not be shocked by some of the scenes, because it's a great lesson. It's a great way to visualize how you can be a better person and what can happen if you are a nice person when you do things for others. I really like the idea of it and how much everyone else will like you a lot more if you're nice to everyone else. It's a really nice takeaway. Okay, the song, Sonny and Cher.
Yeah, the love opening
man.
every single day of this man's life with a love song, completely juxtaposed to who he is as a person, is really clever.
You can only think that this is his most hated song of all time,
right?
As the character, and this, you see a scene where the alarm clock is smashed to smithereens on the
he's
floor.
so sick of it.
I like that. I like the shower. The first day he comes back. And it's so stupid, but the way he screams inside of the shower because it's icy cold.
Jumps out.
I couldn't help but laugh the way he does that.
Yeah, brilliant physical comedy. And then when he leaves the bathroom in his robe and everything, and he sees is it Mrs. Lancaster? Was that her name?
Yep.
And he walks in the hall and he's like, there's no hot water. She's like, oh no, there wouldn't be today. It's like, of course there wouldn't.
I love that. And then and then there's the man in hallway is what he's credited as.
Oh yeah, that's really sweet.
Yeah, morning.
He's got a really, really beautiful moment.
Off to see the groundhog. Well, I've got a little connection here. I've got a little link to something here with this guy.
Okay, go for it.
You may recall in the episode we spoke about Inside Out that I made a link between the whole premise of Inside Out being thoughts inside of a head to a 90s sitcom called Herman's Head.
Yes, I remember.
And there were 4 characters. There was sensitivity, intellect, fear, and lust. Well, the lust character was named Animal. And it was the same actor as Man in Hallway. And his name is Ken Hudson Campbell. And I couldn't believe it. I thought when we chose this film, I thought, hang on, no way, I remember who this guy is. Ken Hudson Campbell was the representation of lust in Herman's Head, who we spoke about in last week's episode.
That's such a weird connection.
I know, well, you know what? I'm the king of connecting things, right? We know that.
Okay.
I've connected Parasite to Inside Out. I've connected Groundhog Day to Inside Out.
I don't know about that.
I think I did. Yes, I did.
It'll be fun to try and connect this film to next week's. That'll be fun. Another good one for the kids next week as well. We'll get to that in just a moment. I remember what it is this week. I have it written down. I haven't forgotten this one.
Well, look, I think it's a good time. Let's get into some What About Whens.
All right, let's do so. What About When? We've got some amazing contributions to What About When this week. If you'd like to contribute to these, we welcome it from anywhere in the world. So we've got Twitter, Instagram. They're all at The Movie Cal. We have a website, themoviecalendar.com, and I've received a few this week from email. So our email is themoviecal@gmail.com.
Yes.
We received a really nice letter this week from someone who watched our Inside Out episode, and we've got a few What About Whens in that letter. So thank you to who wrote those. We'll get to those in just a bit. But yeah, I've got a What About When from a friend of mine, Dan, who messaged, who had one last week as well for Inside Out.
Thanks for messaging, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. So it's when, and we spoke about it a little bit, but when Phil punches Ned in the street, it's the first day that he realizes that there's no consequences, and he just Ned crack.
Does that
So
class as
funny.
a sucker punch? I think it does.
guess
There's no
so.
warning.
Yeah.
That wasn't very fair.
Which is perfectly fitting into Phil's character
what a horrible
to sucker
man.
punch somebody.
Okay, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
And another one from Dan was when and this is another one from so this is a double one from Chris and Dan. Chris was the person who wrote the lovely email to us, and it's when Phil steals the hedgehog. Sorry, the groundhog. I just wrote hog for shorthand, so I said hedgehog. Steals the groundhog.
That's where hedges
Wow.
grow out of. Hedges grow out of the ground.
No, they grow. Groundhogs grow on
Yeah,
hedges.
I'll save you, Lee.
Clip them off when they're ripe.
Yeah, he meant ground. They grow out of hedge. That's the ground. I can't help you.
Right.
So yes,
Moving
so when
on
he
from that
steals
one.
the groundhog, I love it. It's
Yeah.
the first time you see anything about the groundhog, and they go, "Oh, he smiled at me. He smiled at me." Oh man,
he's gotta go.
Those poor people in that town have nothing better to do than wait a whole year for this groundhog episode. Anyway,
It's a big event.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. Yeah.
And now I've kind of got a what about when from Jay, who's a friend of mine who messaged me, and I almost didn't include this, but I thought it was too funny not to. So Jay has said, what about when he, as in my friend Jay, had a massive crush on Andy McDowell after watching the film?
Yeah. Why not? What about
yeah,
when
I get it.
I also did? That's fine. Yep. I get it. You get it. You're not alone. You're not alone, Jay.
No, I'm sure there was lots and lots of people who were, yeah, she's incredible.
I didn't realise that was Anna McDowell's actual accent. That was the way she spoke. I'm seeing her in interviews, and she sounds exactly like that as well. I thought maybe she's putting it on for the character. No. Wow, it's very cool. I guess that's what, I think a lot of Americans, in movies, they say Americans love the British accent. I don't know. I think that was a pretty cool accent.
Yeah, no,
Is
Bill
my wife
Murray's
behind me?
accent is the same as well, so that's actually his accent.
All right, you got another what about when?
I do. So now there's a few here. And now normally we try and limit it to sort of one, maybe two, but Chris, who sent us this lovely email, has got a few. So we'll go through these. I really wanted to go through them just for him reaching out with this beautiful letter. So what about when Phil and Rita are dancing for the first time in that in the
gazebo, the rotunda, yeah.
And the music lyrics, if you turn on the subtitles, the music lyrics at this point say, "You don't know me," is the song lyrics that are playing, this is something that I didn't pick up on.
I didn't either.
So yeah, which is it. No, it's such a nice little thing for people who are paying close attention. Those attention to detail things that I love so much. So thank you, Chris, for pointing that out to me. I had no idea, because he hasn't learned his lesson at that point. He's still trying to trick her into liking him.
You know, I love that song. It's on one of my calming playlists, and it's
a beautiful song.
It's beautiful, and I know it, and I love it when I watch that scene, and I didn't make that connection either. I'm trying to find out who sings it. Oh man, even Bublé's covered it. It's extremely well known. I don't know the original version of it. Anyway, keep going. Ray Charles does it too.
Now this was the one that Dan had as well, which is when he steals the groundhog.
So Dan and Chris both have this one.
Yeah. So and so Chris's continues, and Rita says, "Oh, why would someone steal a groundhog?" And Larry goes, "Oh, I could think of a few reasons. Pervert." And so he's kind of got a question here, being like, why was that the first thing that you thought of? And you got there way too quick, Larry.
Yeah, Larry needs his own Groundhog Day. I think we've established.
I agree. Larry is a pervert. And
yes, who is the pervert, Larry?
Yeah, needs a little bit of help. He should probably go and see a psychiatrist, but not the one that's in that small town. I think he needs a bit of more of a professional. One more.
Yep.
Just after that scene when he commits suicide for the first time by driving off the cliff, and the car explodes, and I had to go back and rewatch this because I didn't pick it up at any of the times that I've seen it, is you can actually hear the groundhog scream a little bit. There's a little, like a squeaking scream, animal noise coming from the fire. And he just says that that's excessive. And again, I would have to agree.
Wow, I don't know if it was a scream, hey. I'd like to think it wasn't a scream. But, I thought maybe it's one of those things where they, like with Jurassic Park, how you're going to get the sound of a dinosaur and they had to get all these different animals and recorded them and mixed them and did all these weird sounds. I thought maybe it was like that to kind of put a bit more... Maybe I'm just refusing to believe that I want to think about an animal.
I think you're in denial a little bit. I listened to it quite a few times just before, and it's definitely an animal scream that's heard in that thing.
Thanks for bringing that to light, Chris.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Everyone, go back and watch
genuinely.
it. Go back and watch it again and again.
So the last "What About When" that I've got here from Chris is when Phil's sitting in the bar and he's having that moment with those two local guys, and he's asking, what if there was no tomorrow, and that whole scene. And in that moment, in that scene, one of the guys holds up his beer, and it's half full of liquid and half not.
The liquid is beer.
The liquid is beer, and Chris here says, and this is verbatim from the email. The man says, some people would look at this glass and say that it's half full, and some would say that it's half empty. I think that you're a glass full kind of guy. And he really likes how that mirrors the end of the film. Now, I can see the look on your face.
Does he say that?
I had the same reaction
says...
when I read it. So now, Chris, it is not my intention here in any way, shape, or form to break this moment for you, but that character actually does say that glass is half. I think you're a glass half empty kind of guy, which Phil absolutely is. Now, the fact, Chris, that you think that he says glass half full, I think you're a glass half full kind of guy, and I respect that, and I try to be myself, and don't let anyone take that away from me. So you keep being a glass half full guy, Chris, and thank you for the email. Do appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe it's not a curse; it's just how you look at it. See what I did there? I said that earlier as well. I do like
Bringing
that.
It back.
I love those two guys as well. I love the whole driving around, and the comedic value that they bring is great.
Yeah, they play drunk very well.
They play so good, and he's like, if we wanted to hit a letterbox, I would have let Bill drive. I don't know, I like that. And they end up ordering burgers when they get pulled over by the cops.
Flapjacks.
You want anything flapjacks? Is it too early for flapjacks? I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, I've got a couple of what about whens.
Okay.
Now, I am a big fan of The Office. Both of the Office shows, the US and the UK. Big fan.
Okay.
And the Pennsylvania polka that gets played. Yep.
I'm not going to sing.
I won't sing it except for this bit. I think it's the second line in the song where it says, they say, it started in Scranton, it's now number one. So the city of Scranton is the city that the US Office series is based in.
That's cool.
It's just a nice little tidbit that people may have or may have not picked up on. I only picked up on it when I watched it recently, the other night, because I think the last time I watched it was before I started watching, or even before The Office came out.
Yeah, wow.
So that was pretty cool. I also like there's something. What about when the morning that Phil wakes up, where as a viewer you expect Rita to be there, and she's not there. It's the night that Rita spends with him and they're flicking cards into the hat. It's the night where he says the only God can create a tree. And I really thought this was it. And they did really well with making everyone think this was going to be it. And he leans over and she's not there. That was a bit of a heartbreaking what about when for me. I'm like,
Does that start the last day?
I think it does. It does.
I think that's his real turning point.
He has a big paradigm shift and realizing this is not about me. And then I have a what about when, this is personal to me, and I'm going to try and say this as succinctly as I can, but the very last scene of the film when Phil looks out the window and he sees it's good, and they come down to the front and he says his piece like, let's move here, well, let's rent first and then we'll buy a place. The song that's playing in the background there is a song that is called Almost Like Being in Love, and this was written in 1947. The version we hear is sung by Nat King Cole, and it's nice because it starts with what a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in, why it's almost like being in love. There's a smile on my face for the whole human race, why it's almost like being in love. So it's kind of cool. But the reason that's a what about when for me is because that song was written for a musical called Brigadoon. And if anyone knows what I'm talking about, then you may immediately go, oh my goodness, there's some sort of weird thing going on here. If you don't know what it is, it's an old film. It was in 1954. Gene Kelly played the lead role. Incredible actor. And the movie is about two Americans from New York that want to go and get some time away from the hustle and bustle. So they go on a hunting trip to Scotland. I've no idea what they're going to be hunting in Scotland. Anyway, they go maybe quail or something. They go on this trip and they stumble across a little village in the Highlands, and the townspeople there in their nice Scottish ways, and our two main characters in the Brigadoon film fall in love with characters inside of this little village. Now the thing is that there's a big secret. I don't want to give it away. I'm giving it away. This village only appears for one day.
Spoilers for Brigadoon.
Spoilers for Brigadoon. I'm very sorry, everyone, if you've really got this on your list. I don't know if it'll appear on the movie calendar, but it appears. This town appears only for one day every 100 years. So it's almost like the reverse. It's not one day cycling, but it's definitely a play with time that I don't know if the guys who wrote this film or directed, if Harold Ramis thought, what, wouldn't it be funny and would just put this in here? I don't know. I saw some sort of connection. I saw how weird this was. Maybe a little bit of irony. I don't know that this ended the film.
A nice little added layer that the song that bookends the film.
Maybe it's intentional. Maybe it's unintentional. You may wonder, why does Terrence know this weird tidbit of knowledge? Well, I'd like to say that's just me and I know a hell of a lot of stuff, but here's the answer. When I was in grade 6, we did the end of year school play, and the play was Brigadoon, and I played the Gene Kelly main character, and it was my role that sang that song in grade 6. I was a 12-year-old sprightly lad.
It was reviewed so well.
My mother loved it.
That's cool. I didn't know you were a theatre kid. That's really fun.
Oh yes, I was. I was a theatre kid. That's it. But it was that was nice, and it's a beautiful song. And go look at Brigadoon. Check out the trailer on IMDb. It is incredible. And yeah, that's all I'll say. You just look at it and think, oh man, is this how trailers were made back then? It's 1954. Yeah. It's an eye opener. But it's a kind of a cute film. It's nice. Cute film's a great film.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Anyway, that's me. I think we should get to the point of why we're here.
Yeah, so that's it for What About When's. Now it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for, the movie calendar. So now, I don't know if much fanfare is required for this one, because we kind of know what date this one's going to go on. No prizes for anyone playing at home who is putting on bets on certain dates.
They only mention it
Groundhog Day
4 times in the film.
Groundhog Day is officially going on the movie calendar on February 2nd. And the reason why it's coming on that day is Groundhog Day. So it just seemed like it was a no-brainer. So it's gonna appear on that day on the calendar every single year, so that on February 2nd, no matter where you are in the world, if you wake up and don't know what to watch, you've got Groundhog Day to look forward to. The classic comedy from 1993, directed by Harold Ramis and starring Andy McDowell and Bill Murray.
Make sure you have the same breakfast every morning that it is February
on that
2nd.
Day.
Wear the same clothes, do the same things.
Wow.
Yes, there are consequences. There will be consequences, so don't be silly.
Yeah,
every time
We'll know.
Every time you've said Groundhog Day, I've wanted to chime in chorus so we could say it together like the radio announcer.
That's what you were trying to do. I didn't know what you were trying to do.
We're not going to do that.
No, it's okay.
All right, so February 2nd. It is in on the movie calendar.
This is our third film on the calendar.
Beautiful.
which is really cool. So we're going to be adding a fourth film next week.
Yes.
So next week's film that we're going to be talking about, get the kiddies around, just like this one and Pixar's Inside Out last week, for the amazing modern action flick, John Wick.
Yes.
I am so excited to talk about this
Yes.
film. Not going to give too much away just now, but yeah, we're going to be talking about John Wick. So give it a watch wherever you are in the world. Check out your streaming services. I know that here in Australia, there's a couple that's available to be watched on.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's available to rent or buy. If you buy it, then you've got it forever, which is good because we're going to try and find a date for it on the calendar that you can watch it every single year.
John Wick. So should I watch this with the kids?
No.
Okay.
Do not watch this with the kids.
The sequel. Sequels for the kids. All right. Gotcha.
Yeah, sequels are fine.
I
Watch
hear
the
it loud
sequels.
and clear.
They're much more kid friendly.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. John Wick next week. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So thank you very much. Make sure you get in your hashtag #WhatAboutWhens for
Yes.
John Wick as well. There's a few that spring to mind already. And if you have an idea of a date for John Wick to appear on the movie calendar, please let us know with a story so we can add the film onto the movie calendar on that day just for you.
Awesome.
Anything else from you, Terrence?
No. Again, I say this every time. There's probably so much that I should have spoken about with Groundhog Day. But, I think just go watch it. Just go watch it as many times as you can. I'm going to keep watching this one. I love it. I love talking about it. Yeah. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Cool.
Let's
All
say
right.
goodbye.
Well, thank you so much, guys, and we will see you next week for John Wick.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.
All right, bye.